Welcome back to another episode of the Creamsicle Chronicle podcast. With me, enduring this season, my co-host Garrett Ballard. Garrett,
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm upset. I feel like all the things that we said could go wrong went wrong.
I don't know about you, but it feels like it's been like a 3-day hangover from this loss.
It was
Like,
brutal.
just emotionally, it's just I haven't been able to recover.
So much was done poorly. It's like just everything. And I think this is one of the games where you can look at the team performance and say, I was not unhappy with how the players played. This is a coaching failure. This is a 100% coaching failure.
Yeah, I was actually rewatching the game a little earlier, and I was like, "Wow, the defense is playing really well." A receiver catches a ball, instantly hit. They're giving up nothing, and you knew what you were going to get with Nick Chubb in this offensive line, but it was a very bend don't break style, and I
Mm.
thought the team executed it really well, at least on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And there were more things that I liked about the offense than I expected to rewatching it. I thought Rashad White had a really nice game. I thought Chris Godwin looked like Chris Godwin, which was a nice change of pace. We had a Keefed
I
touchdown.
know.
Look at
Yeah.
that. I'm almost to a handful of positive things.
I think if there was one, there's two, but one that I'll just quickly mention. One I'm going to talk about later that I think is a bit of a bigger issue. But Mike Evans has not been playing like himself recently, namely these last two games, I think, or really just this last game. Um, I don't know. There was that one play at the end of the game where it felt like he could have reached out his hands and grabbed that ball, but need him to get back on track for sure.
What do you attribute that to? Because we know who Mike Evans is. He's a guy who takes pay cuts so the team can get better. He's a guy who's always team first. He is not take plays off diva wide receiver. So why does it look like he's not giving the full Mike Evans effort?
I don't know. I really don't. It's puzzling. I've been trying, like, I guess the easy cop out is to just say it's injury, but I don't think it's that. I mean, he hasn't been on the IR, the injury report. Um, so I really don't know. I would love to maybe potentially find that out next game. I am credentialed for the Saints game. I will be in Raymond James watching the Saints game. So hopefully I can figure some things out, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to put our finger on it. And injury is the first thing that comes to mind, but you're right, he's not on the injury report. Watching him make cuts, it doesn't look like he's limping or hobbled or anything like that.
I mean, he had that, like, it was really early in the game. They did a play action to dagger concept. Like Paul Atwell from Pewter Report tweeted it out, and Mike Evans just got open. Like, classic Mike Evans play early in the game. And that last one, that also seems like a classic Mike Evans play when he would come up with a huge clutch catch, and it just didn't happen. So it's very confusing to me.
And not even just his play, but just watching his body language. Like he looks like he's upset,
Tired.
like he's not into it. Like
Yeah,
there's something off there, and I don't know if it's physical or mental, but it's obvious watching him.
yep,
And
I
it's
agree.
it's really a bad time for it to happen right as Chris Godwin is getting healthy, right as Rashad White is emerging. You hope to see a little more Cade Otton as he's kind of establishing himself more and more. Mike Evans, you are the heartbeat of this offense. You are the best skill player out there. If we're going to rally and make this season anything, Mike Evans has to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was it's good that Chris Godwin is looking like himself again, because if he weren't, this would have been a much uglier game.
Yeah, and so happy to see Chris Godwin looking like himself.
Tremendous. Yeah.
The first 8, 9 games, he looked like a shell of himself. He was out there, he was being gritty, he was being tough, not fully back to 100% from his injury, but he played through it, and he is finally rounding into Chris Godwin shape.
Yep.
And that's so big because
It's
one,
needed.
Tom Brady loves working the slot. That slot receiver has always been huge for him, and Chris Godwin's probably the best slot receiver he's ever had.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
And two, we need offense. We've talked about it. repeatedly every week the struggles of this offense. Him emerging is like a breath of fresh air that this team desperately needs.
Absolutely. Shall we get into the dirty stuff, the bad stuff?
Garrett, there's so much of it. I'm going to let you decide which part of this catastrophe infuriated you the most, and we'll start there.
Yeah. Real quick though, praise to Devin White, played another hell of a game, looking awesome. So like recent last couple of weeks, he's been looking great. It has to be the end of the game. Specifically, not the end of the game, the end of the fourth quarter. Todd Bowles, in that moment, not calling timeouts when you had 3 of them with a minute to go, and all you needed was a field goal to win the game. I lost all hope that this coaching staff would be able to bring this team to where it needs to be. I think at that moment, this went from a Super Bowl or bust year to this team's going to make the playoffs and might still fire their head coach.
Yeah, and just to go back and revisit that play, Levante David makes a great play on 3rd down, brings up 4th and I think 12 with a minute 15 or something to go.
Mm-hmm.
The game is basically on the line.
Yep.
Todd Bowles lets the clock tick down from a minute 15 to like 40.
Yep.
And
3 timeouts. 3.
Yep, had 3 timeouts. And, part of me at the time was thinking, okay, you don't want to give the Browns a chance to call their best play, to compose themselves. But the Browns had a timeout in their pocket. So if they wanted to do that, if they wanted to compose themselves and, draw something up, they had that ability. All you did was watch the clock tick down. And, I get you want your defense to make you stop. You make your stand, game on the line, get out, you win. But there's always the possibility that doesn't happen because your offense has punted 4 or 5 drives in a row and your defense is probably really tired.
Yep.
So watching that time tick away, there was no benefit to it. There was no strategy to it. It felt absent-minded.
It did. And following that, when the Bucs are now on offense, they had still 3 timeouts. And instead of the clock is stopped at this point, like it's turnover on downs, like we're on offense. They snap the ball, throw a screen to Rachaad White. A screen on 1st down of a drive, potential game-winning drive is never the play that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a time saver. Rachaad White could easily get out of bounds with this one and save time. No, he got dropped for 1 yard. It was basically nothing.
Nothing on that play.
Todd Bowles does not call a timeout. The clock ticks from 35 seconds to 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
I think it was, 15 or something.
So there was a play in between. They ran a hurry up, and Brady threw a seed to Julio Jones on the sideline.
And that got him down to the 50.
Got him down to the 50. They need another 15 yards to roughly get in Suckup's range.
But now there's 8 seconds left.
8 seconds left. 2 timeouts. You could have been here with 1. You could have been here with none. You would have been there with 1, right? Because ideally you use a timeout on the 4th down.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ideally use a timeout on the 1st down. So you'd have 1 timeout left at this point. You can run another play, call a timeout, potentially kick the game-winning field goal. But Todd Bowles decided to pocket his final 2 timeouts and go into overtime, which, fun fact, timeouts do not carry over. So this was just a complete fumble. And then, I think, to make matters worse, the next day, Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report asked a tremendous question. Why didn't you call a timeout in any of these situations? And he said, we wanted to avoid a turnover on the last drive. We got nothing on the Rachaad White screen, and we wanted to avoid a turnover. What? You have maybe the least turnover-prone quarterback ever in the history of football. And you're saying, how many has he thrown this year? 2?
I think 2.
And combined with that, the clutchest quarterback ever in the history of football. And you're saying we don't want to risk a turnover. Cool. That sucks. For comparison, let me pull this up. Jeff Saturday, endlessly made fun of for getting that interim head coaching job for the Colts. Fumbled a late game scenario, much like Todd Bowles, with a timeout in his pocket. The next day, someone asked him, why didn't you call the timeout? And he says, I regret it. I wish I had called the timeout. He owned it. He didn't put it on his team. He put it on himself. That's a coach. That's a head coach. Todd Bowles is a defensive coordinator wearing a headset with the head coach title. The Buccaneers right now do not have a head coach. They have 2 coordinators and a vacant title. That means nothing.
But isn't that response so on brand for this regime?
It is.
Like,
it absolutely is.
I don't think Todd Bowles has had a lot of like damning moments as a head coach so far until this game. I think there's things I've disagreed with. I think, there's moments I would think, we should have done this versus that. But it's more been Byron Leftwich, who we've absolutely killed on this podcast.
Who's not good, who was not good again. No.
We'll yeah, he's a whole nother chapter of ranting of incompetence.
Yeah, that's chapter 2 in this episode.
But every week he's like, oh, we did what we thought was going to work. We just have to work harder. We have to execute better. And it's no accountability. And now we kind of get that glimpse of where it comes from because, the second Todd Bowles comes out into that same heat, again, no accountability. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to mess up. No one's going to manage it perfect. Not even Bill Belichick. I don't care.
Yeah. I think with the staff, a lot of people loved, I'm talking about when Bruce Arians was here, loved that he would hold people accountable because he did. And I think Bruce Arians would say, I need to do a better job. The coaching staff needs to do a better job. And he has. But it is clear to me that when people criticize coaching issues, they reflect and say, it's not my problem. It's not my problem. It's not my problem, which is one, a bad way to lead a football team because it creates trust issues, rightfully so. 2, a bad way to present yourself to people who know how to watch football, media, fans, analysts, that kind of thing. And 3, setting yourself up for failure. Because when you think you are infallible, when you think you are doing nothing wrong, you're not going to change anything. And we've clearly seen that the way the Bucs are operating this year is not going to win them football games. And now we see that they are not going to change because they don't think it's their fault. They think it's the players' fault.
And part of this is just who Todd Bowles is. He is not a accountability through the media type of guy. He has protected Byron Leftwich. He's protected Devin White. He's protected any and everyone who's come over scrutiny from the media. He's protected them. But to be a head coach, you got to be aware the buck stops with you.
Yep.
So you can say, it was my decision. We're doing these things to get better. You protect your guys. You take care of it internally. But when the fire's on you, you got to own it. Yep. You can't deflect to someone else because there's no one else. You're at the top, dude. So part of that's who he is, but part of that's just lack of awareness and lack of leadership by Todd Bowles. And that's the worst part about it.
I have no issue with him protecting his players when they're coming under fire. My issue, and I think yours too, is that he protects himself when he comes under fire.
Yep, a leader protects his guys. Bruce Arians is a style, Todd Bowles is a style. Both are fine.
Yep.
But you yourself have to take accountability because it's your show.
Yep. It's, I think coming into the season, we were all very excited because we thought Todd Bowles, he was like, oh, good, we get to keep him here. No one steals him. There's not going to be much turnover. Well, we were wrong. We were wrong because it's bad. Because it's very, very bad. I don't know.
Speaking of very, very bad, can we transition to my most infuriating Todd Bowles moment from this game?
Go for it.
All right. So we're earlier in the fourth quarter now. About 12 minutes left. Bucs have been marching down the field.
Oh.
They get stopped on 4th down. It's 4th and 2 from, I think it was about the 39.
Yep.
So just out of field goal range. brings the offense back on the field. I think that would be absolutely the right call. You haven't really scored a lot all game. You got 17 points. The Browns have scored even less. They got 10. Your defense is playing really well. A field goal feels like it ices the game, even with 12 minutes left. So if you get this first down, that's basically the dagger to the Browns. But instead of actually running a play with Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Rashad White, who's been playing really well, and Chris Godwin, who had over 100 receiving yards in this game, and Julio Jones, who had a good game, he takes a delay of game call to go to 4th and 9, and he punts it, which, of course, went into the end zone, so they only gained like 17 yards on the punt. That absolutely drove me insane.
Egregious. It's egregious.
I get being a defensive-minded coach. You want to play conservative. You want to hang it on your defense. You want to grind it out. But in that moment, when you can put the dagger in the heart of the Browns and take a little bit of pressure off your defense, who has been on the field a lot, that's where you have to push it. And it was even more infuriating because he went for a 4th and 1 earlier in the game on like the Bucs' own 40. So you know he can do it. So it felt that much more like he shrunk in the moment. It made it feel like he was a coward. And that's exactly what it was. It was cowardice. It was playing not to lose. Because even if you go for it and you miss, you still have that great defense. And they got to stop after they kicked the punt. So you know your defense can get that stop even if you don't get it.
Yep.
But if you do get it, that's pretty much the ball game. And to not even try with all of those names I just mentioned, it's inexcusable.
It's embarrassing. I mean, when you look at it, those are two, the timeout mismanagement and now the punt mismanagement. Those are two independent events that I think are just fireable. Like if the Raiders, who's the worst team? Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos.
He's the worst coach in the league.
I was like, if he tomorrow, whenever they play, I don't know, if he does both of those things in a game, there's probably more than a 50% chance that he gets fired the next day or very soon after. And I think it's already in the works. Like, he's terrible. But I think Jason Light is kind of getting external pressure to not fire these coaches because they are the direct successors to Bruce Arians, who went into the Ring of Honor this year, who won us our first Super Bowl in 20 years, got us to the playoffs for the first time in 15 years or whatever it was. He handpicked Todd Bowles to be like, yeah, I want him to coach this team. I want him to do it. And I would be shocked if Jason Light thinks that he's doing a good job. And I'd be shocked if him and the Glazers haven't talked about moving on. But I think the reality is that Todd Bowles is going to be here this year, and I think he's probably going to be here next year.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're the general manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Do you take the red pill and at the end of the year you fire Byron Leftwich, you bring in a competent offensive coordinator, and you run it back with Todd Bowles, who is a brilliant defensive coach? You know, take away the mismanagement of the clock and all those things. He's still a great defensive mind, a great coach in that aspect. Or do you take the blue pill, you completely clean house at the end of the year, and you go with the mystery box? The mystery box could be the next Sean McVay. It could be the next Nathaniel Hackett. But you know you want Todd Bowles out of here. Everyone, Larry Foote, Harold Goodwin, the whole cast and crew, gone. Which option are you going with?
I'm firing everybody. What about you?
I think I'm taking option number one. I think I'm just firing Byron Leftwich because as awful, and I mean as terrible as this mismanagement was on Sunday, I have been reasonably okay with Byron for most of the year. The biggest gripe I have with Byron is empowering Byron Leftwich. And I think
Bowles. You were saying the biggest issue I have with Bowles is empowering Byron. You said The biggest issue I have with Byron is empowering Byron.
Yes.
Bowles, but yeah.
Yep. Bowles empowering Byron Leftwich. Allowing Byron Leftwich to exist is my biggest problem with Todd Bowles. Until Sunday, which was its own individualized package of terrible.
But there, I mean, I get what you're saying, but there are instances throughout the season of him making horrible decisions on 4th and 2 to punt and things like that. There's never been a timeout thing that bad, but there have been instances where you're like, call a timeout, what are you doing? And he doesn't.
Sure.
I don't think this is like a one-off thing. I mean, we even saw Bruce Arians was never we'll go for it on 4th and 2. We'll take the points. That was always him. He probably did it more. No, he didn't. But I think Bowles has his style, and I think it's Arians without the leadership part. And I think I might get some flack for this. Grateful for Bruce Arians and everything he did for the Bucs. His coaching method is archaic. You really don't see any coaches in the league like that. I think Joe Judge was that other one that you could point to, but he's no longer a head coach. That like rah, shut the F up, that kind of just intense, aggressive coach is not one that's around the league very frequently. Obviously, guys get into it, but he was another level. He
like
was
the Dan Campbells of the world, biting kneecaps.
Like, yes, but also Dan Campbell is a lot more aggressive in the ways of like, we're going to go and we're going to fight. And I love my guys more so. I feel like Bruce Arians was more like, we're going to go and we're going to fight. And if we mess up, I'm going to let you know.
Oh, sure. He would cut you as soon as look at you if you weren't doing your job.
Right. I mean, we saw what happened with Ronald Jones. Like, that's example one. I think Dan Campbell's a lot more forgiving. I think he's just intense in a different way. But
you know who it reminds me a bit of? And this might be a little bit before your time, Tom Coughlin.
I don't think I got I was growing up when they won the Super Bowl, but I wasn't like, I didn't know what was going on. Like I was like 8.
Mm-hmm. And even when he won the Super Bowl, that was a calmer, gentler Tom.
Okay.
And back in the day with the Jaguars, I think it was his team then.
Yeah.
He was that red ass coach who was very in your face, so it is a bit of a dying breed. And to your point, Todd Bowles is very much the opposite of that. And I think the two balanced each other very, very well. Because as good as the offense was with, all those weapons, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tom Brady, Gronk, the defense was every bit as good. So it was such a beautiful balance, both in terms of skill sets and personalities.
And I think Byron is much closer to Bowles than Arians. And I know that Bowles is the head coach, but like I said, we have 2 coordinators. We don't really have a head coach right now. I do believe that. And we have 2 coaches who are not get right. They're like, all right, I'm going to focus on my thing. We're not going to worry about the team as a whole, it seems. Like, that's just kind of how it seems.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Todd Bowles definitely doesn't have anything to do with the offense right now, other than just saying, Byron, it's you. You got it. And then Byron clearly doesn't have anything to do with the defense because he never has, and he can't tell Todd Bowles, yeah, I want to help with the defense. That's not going to happen. So, I don't know. We have a weird balance right now, and I think in order to fix it, the only way I'd keep Todd Bowles is if he'd agree to go back to DC. Like, that's because he's not a head coach.
And just a quick spoiler alert, Byron Leftwich, don't got it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can transition to that now. But, oh, my God. It's been 2 weeks. I've been saying I do not trust this offense despite the winning streak. I want to see them against a semi-competent defense. And the Browns aren't one. They don't even have a semi-competent defense. They have a bad defense. Joe Woods, that's his name, right? Joe Woods?
Mm-hmm.
Has been like under fire from every Browns fan ever to get fired. That's their defensive coordinator. They're like, yeah, this guy sucks. They can't do anything. And we can. I have notes. Hold on. Let me pull them up.
To your point, before the game on Sunday, I put out the tweet that Byron Leftwich versus Joe Woods was the ultimate matchup of the movable force versus the stoppable object.
God, you're right.
What a terrible matchup of coordinators.
So embarrassing. And of course, this game went to overtime. Of course it did.
Because the first 60 minutes weren't painful enough.
Yeah, exactly. But as soon as that game went to overtime, we got stopped on the first drive. I was like, yeah, we're losing. We're not going to win this game. But all right. Drive after scoring to go up 17-10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Run, screen, 3 and out. Why?
Trying to milk that clock.
The drive before, all but 2 plays were passes. And one of the 2 plays that wasn't a pass was that end around to Julio Jones. That was a good play call. I like that play call. That got like 8-9 yards.
Mm-hmm. See, that's how you run effectively on any given down. It doesn't have to be between the tackles, a power run up the middle. You can do end arounds. You can do those kind of things.
Yes. And I think the other run was like a 9-yard run from Rachaad White. A good run, again. All the other plays were passing. And guess what happened at the end of the drive? A O'Keefe touchdown.
The most beautiful of touchdowns.
Opening drive. What was the scoring play?
It was a pass to Chris Godwin.
Pass. Emphasis on pass. There's a common theme here. And I think you can, if you just pay attention to how the offense works, the Bucs have momentum, and it gets killed as soon as Byron starts running screens and runs. As soon as he starts calling those screens and runs. And I don't mean just like a quick hit screen to Mike Evans with no blockers. What is that going to do? Come on now. Like
I get that play on the goal line because Mike Evans can just big and strong his way into the end zone.
35.
That's like a 3-yard pickup.
We're on R35. What are we doing? Oh man. I don't get it. I have zero trust in the offense, despite the players. I have trust in the players. I don't have trust in Byron Leftwich to ever call a good game of football. He hadn't for 2-3 years before this. I think Arians' influence on the offense was masking a lot of the inefficiencies and deficiencies that this team has, this coaching staff has. But I have zero hope. Honestly, zero hope for a turnaround. And I mean that. Like this, everyone's like, Super Bowl or bust. I'm like, we're not going to win a playoff game. We're not winning a playoff game.
You know the worst part about this, outside of the 70 minutes of just infuriating football?
Yeah.
This was out of the bye week. This was the game where the Bucs had a chance to do self-reflection, self-scouting, evaluate what works, what doesn't. And this was their time to show, hey, we got the talent. We looked in the mirror. We fixed all the problems, and we got this. This is where we make our stand, where we put together our run. And they come out, and it's the exact same bullshit it's been all year. Just what changed? What was different this week than it was against the Rams or the Seahawks or the Panthers? I mean, it's all been the same stuff.
I mean, the Rams and Seahawks games, I don't think were particularly better. I think we just got the Seahawks game was better, but it was because we could run.
Right. Their front is terrible. Yeah. And this Brown front outside of Myles Garrett, also not good.
Also terrible. So I was like, if we can run on them, we'll win. We couldn't run on him, really. I mean, Rachaad White was putting up a valiant effort, but how many did he get, like 80?
I can double check.
Yeah,
I thought he had a really solid game overall, passing and receiving combined. I was impressed with what I saw.
Yeah, but it was not enough. It was, I mean, even just if you, I'll pull up here. This is what I'll do. You pull up the Browns game, and I'll pull up the Seahawks game, and we'll compare rushing statistics, right?
Okay, so Rachaad White versus the Browns. 14 carries, 64 yards, 4.6 per carry, and then he had 45 receiving yards.
Yeah. Where
So
is
good.
this?
That was effective. It wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't amazing, but it was solid.
Yes, solid. It's a good way to put it. Oh wait, I didn't. Okay, Seahawks. Rashad White. How many carries did he have this one?
14.
14. 22 for 105, average of 4.8. Leonard Fournette, 14 for 57, average of 4.1. So
So
the
pretty
Seahawks
close to the
game,
same average.
same average, but they ran more. I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I mean, the runs were not like successful in the Browns game. I think he did a good job with what he was given, but I don't think I'd be like, yeah, there needs to be more runs to solve what's happening. I think there needed to be less screens and more passes down the field. I think that's what happened on Sunday. It's just knowing when to call plays, and clearly Byron does not know how to time his play calls, stuff like that. So
Yeah, he has absolutely no feel, no rhythm, because
none.
that's what it is. It's a rhythm.
It is.
You get the defense thinking you're going one way, and as soon as they think that, you go the other way, back and forth, punch and counter punch. Dude's just up there swinging wildly, has no idea what's going to work.
Yep. It's bad. It's bad. It's a problem. It's been a problem all season.
And I think that was part of the discrepancy between the amount of carries, because I think he would have wanted to run more. It's just they couldn't stay on the field for most of the drives.
Yep.
When they passed, it worked. When they ran, it worked. But like you said, because he has no feel for play calling, and he is the king of overcorrection. You talk about the screens, just overdoing it. A month ago, he was doing 0 screens. And then he's like, oh, hey, check out this play. It's like in Madden.
The Ravens game, a switch flipped. There were so many that game. I vividly remember it.
Mm-hmm. And I used to do this to my brother. I would just run slant down the field, just 5-yard slant, 5-yard slant, 5-yard slant, until they could stop it. And then I'd go, goal line, goal line, goal line. And I would just run it over and over until they stopped it. That
Honestly,
doesn't work in real life.
5-yard slants would probably be better than 5 screens in a row at this point.
Yeah, it's just so hysterically bad. It's one of those laugh to keep from crying kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. I have 3 more notes. 2 of them are related, kind of. They're both on the offensive line. One of them being the 3 to 4 week injury of the best offensive tackle in the NFL, Tristan Wirfs. Killer. I mean, what is it, week 12, 13 now?
Yeah, that was 12. Week 12 just passed.
So we're going into week 13 in a stretch of games that are must win. And we lost maybe our best player on the entire team. Pound for pound. That is destructive. That's so bad. Like who do we have? Okay, Saints, who are going to be Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, 3 talented rushers. Cameron Jordan's just, I'm going to talk about the other tackle, but he'll probably tee off on, Josh Wells.
Yep.
And then week 14, we have the 49ers. Nick Bosa is going to have a field day.
Not great.
And then after that, we got the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson.
The Donovan Smith killer.
Week 16, the Cardinals. J.J. Watt. Week 17, the Panthers. Brian Burns, man. Oh, my God. Week 18, Falcons. Nobody. But
yeah, you catch a break there.
But he'll be back by then. Now that's the game he comes back.
And the thing about this Tristan Wirfs injury, this was the best news that came out of this game. Yeah. Not that he got hurt, obviously, but yeah, when that cart came out and they put him in the air cast, you knew, okay, knee is destroyed. He's gone till mid next year. This is the worst case scenario.
This was a Chris Godwin, like, oh shoot.
Yeah, you hear air cast, you hear cart, he's just cooked.
Yeah, it's bad.
So for it to only be 3 to 4 weeks is such a break.
Yeah. So I'm gonna shift my attention now to the other side of the offensive line, to Donovan Smith. Good last year, has been a liability this year. Guy's been bad. And I think part of it is him just not being good against rushers that are anything above average, really. And then the other part of it is the weird tendency for this coaching staff to give their struggling pieces help. I mean, I wrote it in my notes. I'm immediately recalling Gedeke in the beginning of the year. Obviously, Leverrett's been better, yes, but Gedeke needed help. He was going up against some of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, solo, one-on-one. And you're like, okay, well, this is not going to go well. This guy's, this is like his 6th year playing competitive football. He played tackle in college.
Tight end at junior college.
A tight end, yeah. Like, this was never going to go well. I don't know what they were expecting. You need to help the pieces that are not having good time. Like, I think Robert Hainsey has proven that he can handle his own at this point. Shaq Mason, Tristan Wirfs, great. They can do their own thing. That left side, they need to work together. They need to be a bit more cohesive, and the offensive coaching staff needs to do a better job working on that. Because I think Donovan Smith is like what PFF graded him, one of the 3 worst tackles in the league this year or something like that. Like, it's
not good.
He has like a grade of 25. Like, obviously you can criticize PFF grades. When they're that bad, it's kind of correct. Like the arguments get in the 60 to 80 range, 85 range. But when they suck or they're really good, you're like, okay, that's correct. So
I saw an interesting tweet yesterday, and I wish I could remember who put it out there, but it was something to the effect of Donovan Smith the first 6 weeks of the season versus Donovan Smith the last 4 games. And it was a huge discrepancy. The first 6, he was much, much better than the last 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it's a coincidence that the left guard position started getting more help in the last couple of weeks, because there has been a lot more attention given to helping Nick Leverett since he's been in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been getting more help from the center. He's been getting more help from Donovan, which means Donovan is getting less help because he's helping his guy to his right, and he's left on an island more. He's the one who's getting that island treatment more than the guard, which is how it should be.
Right.
And the offensive line plays as such a cohesive unit. It would be interesting to go back and really evaluate how they work as a unit. First 6 weeks versus last 6 weeks, because it's such a major drop off. Yeah, and you can't always evaluate an individual guy on the offensive line because it's such a cohesive effort. Not to say that Donovan's been good. There's no excusing how he's played.
I think just even penalties. He's committing stupid penalties that he would do in his 2nd year in the league. When I was like, why did we give this guy $14 million? I know it is. Even today, I'm like, that's a lot for Donovan Smith. And he was great in the Super Bowl season. He was great last season.
But you know what, though? He was playing next to Ali Marpet then. And as much as he was, might be being hurt by who he's playing next to now, he benefited from playing next to an excellent guard then.
So while we might be here okay, we got to give him help. Okay. We give him help. It's not going to be as good as Ali Marpet. Still going to probably be bad. And now we're thinking, everyone's like, we've seen how good he can be. You just brought up a great point. How much of it was of the product next to him, which is Ali Marpet was perennially the top 3 guard in the NFL, top 4 or 5 guard in the NFL. It's when you're talking about guards, it's really Zach Martin, Quentin Nelson, Ali Marpet. It was really unfortunate that he retired. Super happy for Ali Marpet, looking like he's not anywhere, but every time you see him, he's like 225 pounds now. He's looking healthy, looking great. So good for him. But that was killer. That was a killer loss.
And it put that much more pressure on Donovan Smith, not just to be, playing at a high level, but now he's the guy. He's the veteran in the room. He's the longest tenured buck on the offensive line. Instead of benefiting from who he's playing next to, he has to be the guy that other guys lean on. And he was paid to be that guy, and he hasn't been.
He clearly can't. Like, he can't handle that amount of pressure.
No.
Okay, what was it? Myles Garrett had 1.5 sacks, I think.
He hurt. He beat Smith over and over like a drum.
Anytime you give up a sack, you've had a bad game as a tackle, typically. 1.5, that's another thing. He's lucky it wasn't more. I don't think there was a pass play where Myles Garrett did not get beaten or did not beat Donovan Smith. It was brutal. Truthfully, brutal. Like, we're lucky that Brady gets the ball out in like a millisecond, because if he didn't, it would have been a very bad game.
And there is no shame in losing reps to Myles Garrett. He's one of the 3 best defensive players in the league.
Yes.
Order them how you want. Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald.
Yep.
Pick your order. But to lose every rep when you're the left tackle, when you are supposed to be the anchor of your line protecting Tom Brady, you can't have it. It
cannot happen. That was funny. Every rep. That was very funny. Yeah. So I think there needs to be a little bit of introspection by this front office about what this offensive line is capable of, and try to fix it, because I don't think I think what that game was probably what you're going to see if this team makes the playoffs. Like, who would we play if we were in the playoffs right now?
I believe it's the Cowboys right now.
Okay. Yeah, Micah Parsons had 2 sacks against us week 1. Like, come on. Like, we've seen that happen. We know it's bad. So.
And you know what? Things haven't gotten any better since week 1.
They've gotten much worse. So, anything else? I have one more thing I want to talk about, but I feel like I've been taking up a lot of the airtime with my notes. So I want to see if you have things you want to talk about. My apologies.
What you got? Lay it on me.
Where was Cade Otton? What are we doing throwing Cam Braid out there still?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can look up the number of reps between the two. I think Cade Otton only had like 18 snaps.
Yeah. Inexcusable. I mean, Cade Otton's clearly our best tight end on roster right now. I don't think that's a question.
Let's see.
I'm trying to find
the Saints. I hate that Greg Allman is covering the entire NFC South now.
I know. Congrats to Greg, but I know.
Like, we are so fortunate as Buccaneers fans, because we have an incredible team from the media who covers this team.
Yep.
Going back a year ago, Cameron Vitale, Greg Allman, Scott Reynolds, just so many really, really good media people. Jenna Lane is one I didn't mention. She's really good. And now we have to share them with other teams. Greg gone, Cameron gone. Gosh.
John Ledyard's not covering the team.
John Ledyard.
He still tweets about the team a lot, and I still think he does great analysis for the Bucs, but he's not doing it in the same capacity.
Yeah. It's tough. We miss you all. You are truly an incredible team of media people.
Look, all I'm saying is that it's my cause, my cleats. Cade Otton is doing a tribute for his mom. If they don't play him with those on, I'm going to be pissed. Because he deserves to be on the field. Those cleats deserve to be seen.
And we just went through this entire battle with Rachaad White. And they just started leaning towards him over Lenny.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So
Rookie is out playing. You got to give him those reps.
I didn't write it down because I couldn't find the quote, but I wanted to mention this anyway. This is, to me, much reminiscent of it was actually right around the same time last year, because I remember listening to the Pewter Report podcast on the way back from Thanksgiving to Gainesville. And John Ledyard had asked a question to it might have been Todd Bowles, to be honest, or maybe it was like the D line. I don't know who it was, but um, at this point in the year, Jason Pierre-Paul was not looking great. Joe Tryanchenko was looking better than him, and John Ledyard asked, "Why are you continuing to play Jason Pierre-Paul when Joe Tryanchenko is superior? He's playing better." And I can't for the life of me remember who answered it, but they said, "We're paying Jason in a yeah." I can't remember the exact quote either, so I'm paraphrasing, but we're paying Jason Pierre-Paul more money, so he's going to be the one playing.
Yeah, that stuff matters sometimes to these coaches.
And I remember at that time, I was like, yikes. I was like, that's bad. I was like, you're willfully keeping better players off the field because they're making less money. And I'm like, oof, that's a bad look. That's a really bad look. And that, I think, is coming up here.
And you know what? We know Byron is that kind of dude. And we loved it, at the end of the last 2 years where he's putting Mike Evanses to get 1,000 yards and putting guys in week 16, 17 to get that big pay bump. We love it then.
We love it when we're clinched for the playoffs, when we clinched a playoff spot.
But when you're scratching and clawing to win your division and you're keeping your best players off the field, that reputation does not look good.
Yeah. So, anything else you got? Because there's a bad one.
Yeah. This was as disheartening as a game as I can remember. It's one of those ones where I was so disappointed with it. I wasn't even mad. It was like that mom talk. Not mad. I'm just disappointed. Because we see this circus week in and week out. It's not, I'm past the point of mad. I can't be mad about it every week.
Yeah.
It's just who they are now.
Yeah. Do we want to preview the Saints game?
Let's touch on it briefly because right now the Bucs are 5-6. Every game matters to make the playoffs, especially division games, because the Saints are only like one game back at 4-8. We know what this team is.
Yeah.
We know Chris Olave is very fast. We know their defensive line is very good. We know their offensive line has been very good in the past, but it's a little more patchy this year. We know they've got good players in their back seven. The first time around, this was a dogfight of defenses. Again, no scoring. Don't expect to score. Scored one touchdown in this game the first time to Brashad Perriman. It took a Mike Evans fight and ejection to fire this team up and also take out Marshawn Lattimore, which was a nice little bonus. It's going to be the same because the Saints have every reason to believe they can still win this division.
Yep.
No one is running away with it.
They can. Let's see. What are the standings? Bucs are 5-6. Falcons should obviously be winning this division right now. The Bucs just had their bye week already. Falcons are 5-7. Carolina's 4-8. New Orleans is 4-8. So they're all right there.
All within a win. So by the end of this week, the entire division could be shuffled. It could be every team has 5 wins.
Yeah. People might hate me again. I'm almost to the point where I'm like, if we lose, we got a top 10 pick. I'm like, CJ Stroud's looking at me, man. Come on. Like,
that is, gosh, I would almost prefer that. Just put me out of my misery. Don't give me hope because I know that this is just going to be an execution come playoff time.
Look, the New Orleans has they're 6th in the draft right now, and we are like, they're 1 win behind us. Like, come on. Are you kidding me?
I had this horrible realization the other day. Going into our game on Monday night, we're going to have the same amount of wins as either the Lions or the Jaguars, who play each other this week. The winner of that game will have 5 wins. If you were to tell me at the beginning of the year that we would be the same amount of wins as the Jags or the Lions in December, Gosh, you know that's going to be bad.
Mm,
Two of the worst franchises in any sport.
recent history, yeah. Um, that's bad. That's bad. I mean, it's really bad. I didn't. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay, but do we? It's going to be a bad game visually. I think I just I said it before we started recording. I've been at the last two night primetime games in Tampa against the Saints. One of those was a 9-0 loss, and the other was a 38-3 loss. Um, I will be at this one. So let's see. Can we go 3 for 3 on terrible games? Probably.
Oh, I guarantee you it will be a terrible game. Win, lose, or draw, this is going to be a terrible game.
So do we want to score predictions and hot takes?
Let's do it.
All right. Hot take number 1 for me. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, 2 sacks. Come on. Bad offensive line. He's getting better and better each week. Let's see it.
All right. Bold take, and I don't even know if I can call it bold at this point. The combined score for this game will be under 25.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. You're
Andy
right.
Dalton versus Byron Leftwich.
Oh, and if you want to, if you want to see, no, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. No. Okay. Forget it. That would be irresponsible. Forget it. Okay. Hot take, bold take, number 2. I'm having a tough one here. Marcus Davenport, not Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan, 2.5 sacks.
R.I.P. both Josh Wells and Tom Brady.
Yes.
All right. Number 2 for me. I'm going back to the well. I predicted this earlier. Give me a Levante David interception. Andy Dalton is not good.
He played a great game against the Browns. Let's see. Bold take number 3. Mike Evans gets back on track with a 100-yard game. No touchdowns, just a 100-yard game.
Ooh, that one is bold. I feel like all of these have been like humdrum for this. Like, Bucks score 3 points. Nothing bold there. But
I think Mike it's going to be
LaShawn Lattimore.
I'm predicting a lot of over the middle of the field work. They're going to try and get him away from Lattimore. I don't think he's going to score a touchdown. The Bucks, I think, are going to be lucky to score a touchdown. So 100 yards. Again.
I like it. The Bucks have to do something to fix this Brady-Evans connection.
They have to.
They have to be intentional with it, which, again, danger zone means Byron Leftwich is going to have to do something here.
Do something other than run and throw a screen.
But it has to be a focal point. You have to find a way to make that work.
Yeah. All right. What's your third?
Third one. Gosh. All right. This is the hottest take of the night. Buccaneers win.
Yeah, I disagree.
Oh, God, I told you this is a hot take. This is like Hawaiian volcano hot.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, on that note, give me your score prediction. What do you think we're winning? What's the score?
This is going to be such a stupid game. It's going to be like 12-10 Bucks.
Yeah.
Like Chris Olave touchdown, a bunch of frustrating drives that stall out. Just give it to me, 12-10. Gotta have it, divisional game at home. Find a way to get it done.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 13-9 with the Saints taking it. I think the Bucks are going to kick 3 field goals. 2 of them in the second half. They will end the first half to the sound of boos inside Raymond James Stadium.
Yes, boo this team off the field when they deserve it.
Yeah, whoa.
Where are the Fire Byron shirts?
I have a lighting thing up on my TV, and it just popped up that the video's ending. It's an hour long, so there's our timer. We're nearing an hour.
Gosh, and I guarantee you it's going to be more entertaining than the 3 hours we're going to watch on Sunday.
You're probably right. All right. Before we close, I want to do an exercise with you. This is going to be football related.
I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about football other than this team.
So it's about this team. Sorry. So that's my bad.
Gosh, this is such a painful relationship I have with the Buccaneers. This is so stupid.
Taking into account your prediction to win on Monday, how many more games do you think the Buccaneers win this season? We have. I'll read you the schedule. So you have us winning against the Saints,
which really they shouldn't. The Saints should win. It would, in my mind, it's an upset if the Bucs win. But I'm. This is where the championship pedigree has to come into play.
I do not want any analysis for the other games beyond the Saints one because we will talk about them on future episodes.
Okay.
Do we win or lose against the 49ers?
You lose.
Do we win or lose against the Bengals?
Lose.
Do we win or lose? Oh, where's this game? Against the Cardinals.
Win.
Do we win or lose against the Panthers?
Win.
Do we win or lose against the Falcons?
Win. These teams are all so bad. The NFC South is the worst.
So you think we're going to win 4 out of the 6? That's not right. Wait.
Yeah, I think
win, lose, win.
Yeah, I think 4 wins down the stretch.
Yeah, 4 wins down the stretch, 2 losses. So we finish at what is that? 9 and 8.
That's right. In a world where we take 5 out of 6 games versus a terrible division, which even a terrible division games are never a gimme.
Okay, so you okay, we're done there. That's all I wanted to know.
But I know you said no analysis, but I just have to say this. Is there a safer bet than betting against the Cardinals in December?
Look, new Call of Duty's out. Kyler Murray. I'm just saying. Anything could happen.
Kyler is just someone. It's in his DNA to fold like a cheap tent.
And if we're being real, Cliff Kingsbury is awful. But we'll get to that the week we play the Cardinals. As always, we appreciate you guys listening to another episode of the Creamsicle Chronicles, albeit a morbid one. We love doing it. We love talking Bucs football, even when it is at its worst. Bucs fans are used to it. It's in our DNA to suffer through the hard times, even when we're winning the division. Thanks for listening to the episode. Y'all have a good week. Enjoy the game Monday, hopefully. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Those terrible, terrible freaking team. I hate them. I love them.
Bring back the Buccaneers.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to walk into this press box with a bag over my head. Paper bag over my head.